Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley. You guys, raise your glass. We did it. This is Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 5, Episode 22, Part 3, the final part of that 90-minute travesty that they called a reunion. We are officially done. I just want to say a few things before we get into it. This was the worst season of any Housewives franchise that I have ever watched. This is the most chaotic season of any Housewives franchise that I've watched, and I'll even go as far as to say the most demonic season of any Housewives franchise that I have ever watched. If you are a Monique Samuels fan, a Chris Samuels fan, a Karen Huger fan, I'm going to give you the courtesy right now to click X off of this video because this is not the video for you. I am not a fan of any of them. Chris Samuels showed his funky behind tonight and we are going to get on into it. So cheers. Cheers to us because we are finally done. We are finally free. Won't he do it? So we start off the continuation of last week's part 2. We see Candiace, she is crying and she goes off stage. We see Monique sitting there just as stoic as can be, of course, lying and not taking any accountability whatsoever. And she says that, that's just not how she's built. When Andy asks why she's so dry and so matter of fact about this whole altercation that she started. So at this point, Candiace is getting her makeup touched up and she's also crying. She's just really upset. And her husband, Chris Bassett, who I absolutely love, that is a man. He's a class act, but he's just trying to give his wife a pep talk. He's like, look, just get through this. I want to see you laughing again. This is going to be over really soon, but just get through this next portion of the reunion. We're almost at the finish line. We're going to have some dinner after this, and then we're going to partake in some other activities. I said, I know that's right. And Chris is cute too, but I digress. So while Candiace is still up in her room, Andy is asking Monique about how she has not apologized to Candiace. And Monique is sitting up there just as defiant as can be. And she's like, no, I did not apologize to her. Of course I didn't, because, the next thing I know, I'm in the headlines about the fight and I'm, being charged legally. I said, girl, the reason why the fight was leaked was because you leaked it. You leaked it to the blogs. But we're going to get on that part in just a few short seconds. So let me not jump ahead. Candiace finally comes back onto the stage and she is, just collecting herself and she is ready to get her head in the game and just discuss this whole mess between her and Monique. So here's the part where I just felt my blood boiling because Monique just began to lie and lie and lie some more. She brings up how she was triggered by the quote-unquote hand gestures that Candiace was doing because it took her back to her childhood. So I said, it's okay for you to be triggered by childhood trauma, but Candiace can't be upset about something that happened to her a year ago. Got it. Because that makes complete sense. It makes complete sense that somebody can still be triggered about something that happened to them 35 years ago, but this woman can't be upset about somebody who assaulted her on national TV a year ago. Got it. So Andy asks the ladies if they purposely left Monique out of the group events this season, or was it Monique's choice to not go? So Robyn is like, Monique even said it herself that, she didn't want to be in the group settings, especially if people didn't feel comfortable filming with her. So they kind of put an end to, we're not even going to play this game where Monique gets to be this victim and this, they excluded me from the group events. Robyn, I have to say, Robyn got an A from me this reunion. I had never been a Robyn fan, but I said, Robyn, you turned me around, honey, because I was looking at you like, Robyn, you better tell the truth. I said, Robyn, you better sit up here and tell the truth today. So then Andy goes on to ask Candiace about the whole legal issue, about her pressing charges. And Candiace says, I did not want to press charges. I pressed charges against Monique reluctantly. But I did it because the minute that the assault happened, she had already went to the bloggers and had skewed everything in her favor. So you have Monique, of course, sitting up there shaking her head like, no, that's not true. That's not true. So Candiace is like, girl, you definitely did talk to the bloggers and you paid them off because there's no way in the world that this info would have even gotten leaked. Nobody in the group told the blogs, told the publications. There wasn't really anybody there in the barn and they weren't going to run and tell the blogs. So she's like, it was obviously you. The blogs had details that were all skewed in Monique's favor. So then Monique comes up with a convoluted story saying, well, after the fight happened the next day, I told some family and friends what happened and I know who leaked the info to the blogs. I'm like, yeah, you know who it was because it was you. It was you who went to the blogs. It wasn't anybody else. Who was this phantom relative or friend who went to the blogs? It's nobody. That's all you. I mean, y'all, my head was spinning. I was this close to giving you guys like a 5-minute review because that's how annoyed and that's how livid I was. Like, I was like, I can't keep watching this. Like, we're 5 minutes in and already I'm just irritated. So then Andy goes on to ask the other ladies if they felt that Candiace pressing charges was too far. And the ladies are kind of like, well, I did want some action to take place. Like, I thought that Monique should have had an ankle bracelet, but I didn't think that it should have been anything more. I kind of called BS on that because I'm like, Gizelle, the person that you are, if Monique had done this to you, you would have pressed legal charges on her and you would have had Monique under the jail. Robyn, you would have beat Monique up to a pulp and then you probably would have sued her and had her thrown under the jail. Wendy, you would have thrown her under the jail. Karen, you also would have thrown her under the jail. So all of this, I thought that was kind of too far. Please miss me with it. I said all these ladies are not going to sit up here and play in my face today. They're just not going to do it. And if Monique had touched or assaulted me, I would have had her hemmed up in the courts too, because you do not put your hands on anybody, especially when the name of the game on Housewives is to verbally spar. So that whole argument of, well, her mouth is too crazy is null and void when you join this show, because again, that is the name of the game. It's shade. We go back and forth. We argue with our words. Candiace is a wordsmith with words. Her reads are deadly and they just can't take it. Monique, like I said in the episodes before, she lost that argument because she just can't keep up. She's not as witty. She's not quick on her feet like that. She was shaded in front of the Green-Eyed Bandits, who she's been dying to be friends with, so she was really upset, and that's the reason why she went upside Candiace's head. She lost the argument. The war of words between her and Candiace, she didn't win it. It is what it is. And she resulted into fighting, which is pathetic. And I said what I said, and I ain't taking it back. Candiace brings up a fabulous question because she says, I just want to know, how am I the villain for wanting to press charges against this woman who assaulted me? People were saying that I was the villain who wanted to take her away from her kids, but she clearly was not thinking about her kids when she decided to hit me upside my head and bash me on that table. I don't understand how people think that other people should care more about you than you should care about yourself. How does that make sense? You control yourself. You control your actions. You weren't thinking about your kids that day when you went upside Candiace's head. So now Candiace has to care more about your kids than you do? That's off to me. I was very glad that Candiace brought that up. I said, Candiace, you better knock it out the park. You better hit the nail on the head. You are exactly right. You are not the villain. You did what you thought was the right thing to do. And I would have pressed charges as well. Anybody would have pressed charges. Andy then asks Ashley about what she thought of the fight when she saw it, because remember, Ashley had just, coincidentally hopped on over to use the restroom, so she didn't see anything that occurred. So she says, the fight was definitely way more heated than what I had heard, because I had heard various stories. And then Andy also goes on to ask her about her participation with helping Monique with the case, giving her verbal statement against Candiace. So Ashley doesn't really answer the question. She kind of weasels out of it. So Ashley says, I honestly didn't think that, the case would go anywhere. And I'm like, girl, you didn't answer the question. Just be honest for once in your life and just say, I did it to spite Candiace because I don't like her. That's all you had to say. But instead you had to go and lie and say, well, I didn't think it was going to go anywhere anyway, and da-da-da-da-da. Candiace also brings up how Monique and Chris Samuels were talking cash money-ish about the Darbys anyway. And of course, Monique is lying, and she's like, no, of course, this girl is crazy. That didn't happen at all. We weren't talking about them. And Andy also brings up a lot of us viewers who have questions about their newfound alliance, newfound friendship. So Ashley is like, Monique has been a great friend to me. She's hid my secrets even when we were having problems. I said, girl, you just lie so damn much. I said, you just lie so damn much. Just say that y'all both have a vendetta against Candiace, and that's the only reason why you two have linked up. You can't sit here in my face and tell me that your friendship makes any sense. There is no way in the world that if I were Monique, I would have ever forgiven you or let you slide for calling me an alcoholic and then saying that that was the reason why I had a miscarriage. There's no way in hell. The best that we could possibly be is cordial, but it just shows you that her and Ashley have an unholy alliance going on, and that's the only reason why they're able to push that aside and now just have a vendetta against Candiace. That's it. They're both full of it. Those are two just disgusting, despicable individuals, but let me just get on with it, okay? Because we have a lot to cover. Andy brings the conversation back to Monique and Candiace and why Monique assaulted Candiace. Monique starts fake crying. I didn't see any tears come out of Monique's eyes. I said, okay, girl, this inner cry that you're doing, it's an inner cry, but I digress. Monique starts fake crying about how she was triggered due to when she was a child, her father used to mash his finger on her forehead to check her. Again, I said, so Monique is allowed to cry about trauma from 30 years ago, but Candiace is not allowed to cry about trauma that she just went through a year ago. Got it. Because that makes total sense. Monique finally says, I take accountability. She then offers up Candiace the weakest, sorriest apology that I have ever seen. Candiace says, I can appreciate the apology, but I just have a problem because it took you a full year to finally say this. A full year of me being attacked, a full year of you then taunting me on social media, and a full year of you having the nerve to release a song called Drag Queens Still Taunting Me. So Monique tries to interrupt and interject, and Candiace says, I let you speak even though you were lying and even though you were wrong. I let you speak and I did not interrupt you for 1 second, so please allow me to speak. So Monique shuts up. I said, thank God. Even Andy said, Monique, let her speak. It's her turn now. You had a chance to talk. Be quiet, please. Candiace says that the song that Monique made called Drag Queens was just such a problem, and she starts reading the lyrics to the song. The song is clearly about Monique assaulting Candiace and her being proud of said assault. She's reading the lyrics and Andy's like, this makes you look bad. And Monique says that the reason why she wrote a song was because her therapist recommended that she write a letter to Candiace, but she wasn't comfortable to do so. So she chose to write a song because she's so musical, and that's the best way that she expresses herself is through music. I said, okay, girl, but okay. Candiace lets it be known that she never wanted a social media apology from Monique. She wanted a, hey girl, on the phone, like, I'm sorry, like, I effed up, I am sorry. And that's understandable, but I do think that a public apology would have been, fantastic. I mean, I can't count this public apology on the reunion. It took Andy to constantly coax her and say, you need to say that you're wrong, like 10,000 times before she finally said it. And it was a very half-hearted apology, in my opinion, anyway, because she's not truly sorry, she's not remorseful, and she keeps trying to justify herself and refuses to just admit flat out that she's wrong. For her to keep saying, I take responsibility for the part that I played, insinuates that Candiace played a part in it. I was also upset with Candiace when Candiace said, I know that I played a part because my mouth is crazy and I'm a wordsmith and I can be a true asshole at times. Nothing that Candiace said in that moment warranted that at all. Candiace was actually being very lighthearted, like she said. She was twirling and saying, okay, girl, you're asleep. That was nothing to do all that. That was nothing that deserved her to be hit upside her head or, for her wig to be tugged. I was like, Candiace, why are you saying that you're sorry? You didn't do anything wrong. The name of the game is to shade each other. You won the verbal argument. The end. I'm just so tired of everybody saying that Candiace has such a mouth on her. Have y'all seen or heard Ashley's mouth? Ashley called Monique Samuels an alcoholic season 3. She insinuated that was why Monique had a miscarriage season 3. She has called people atrocious names. She dug up Juan and Robyn's financial records season 1 and spread around town that they had $25 in their bank account. Ashley has said way more vile things than anybody on that cast. So for the last time, y'all have been unable to answer me all season long. Why you guys have continued to ignore the fact that Ashley's mouth is crazier than everybody on that cast, and y'all continue to just focus on Candiace having a reckless mouth. If somebody could answer that for me, and it better be respectful. Don't get in those comments acting crazy, because you will be removed and you will be blocked. Y'all know I don't play that. If you all can do me that favor of why you all have ignored Ashley's reckless mouth, I would be forever grateful. I would even rather you all just tell me the truth and just say that you just don't like Candiace, so you're just going to nail her to the cross every single time and just ignore what Ashley does. I want you just to be real with me and be real with yourselves, because Candiace's mouth is not that reckless. The girl just defends herself, and she defends herself very well. Ashley starts the mess, and she's nasty and diabolical and hits below the belt. Let me get off of that. Let me just get off of that, because I was on that for a minute, and we have a whole bunch more of this reunion to get through, so let's just move on to the next thing, okay? This didn't have to be 90 minutes. This really could have been an hour. I said, wow, 90 freaking minutes, but Candiace also lets it be known that, yes, she is a wordsmith of sorts, but the past 4 instances before the assault, she walked away from any altercations, and she did. She did not engage. She was very mature, and she disengaged. And even Monique is just sitting there quiet because she knows that she has to agree. And Andy's like, yeah, you did. And everybody else is just kind of pissed because they know that Candiace is right. She did not give any of them any ammo to say that she was going crazy and needed to calm down. I said, Candiace, you better let them know. You better remind them. So Candiace is saying, look, at the end of the day, I never deserved this. Monique interrupts again. That girl is such a poor listener, isn't she? She just keeps interrupting people. It's terrible. That's a terrible trait to have. It's the mark of a poor listener when you can't just let somebody else just talk. You know what I'm saying? It's really sad. I hope she works on that after this season, and work on those anger issues and work on not lying too. But I digress. Let's just get back on into the topic at hand. Monique says, you were doing some snake stuff behind my back. Candiace is like, no, I was not. And then Monique in the next breath says, yeah, you know, nothing that you did warranted that. I said, do you all hear the craziness? This is a double-minded woman. On one hand, she says that Candiace provoked her and deserved it. Then the next minute she's saying, you know, you're right. Nothing that you did warranted me assaulting you. And then she blames her childhood trauma for the assault, but then says that it was Candiace's mouth and that Candiace needs to take responsibility for her actions that led to this assault. I said, Monique is crazier than a soup sandwich. Do you hear me? I said, Monique Samuels is crazier than a soup sandwich. She kept flip-flopping. She didn't know if Candiace provoked her or if it was her childhood trauma that led her to go upside Candiace's head. I was too through. We were at the 20-minute mark. I said, I am too done. I was done. So next, we get on to the Karen and Candiace situation. I'm about to go in on Karen. I am absolutely disgusted with her. I don't ever want to see Karen again. The same dislike and the same loathing that I have for Monique, I feel the same way about Karen. I just find her to be a very sorry individual and just a straight up liar. Karen is a pathological liar and she just cannot stop and won't stop, and it's really pathetic to watch. Karen, the way you just sat there and lied and lied and lied at your big age was very disturbing. We go into the fact that Karen refused to pick a side between Monique and Candiace. Candiace, you can already tell, is just getting pissed off just thinking about it, okay? Because she really looked up to Karen and she considered Karen to be a second mother to her. I'm sure she no longer thinks of Karen as any sort of mom or any sort of friend. Karen is a friend to herself and herself only. But let me just get back on into the topic at hand. So Andy goes on to ask Monique how she felt when she heard Karen say that she would have pressed charges had this happened to her. And so Monique is like, yeah, we had a phone call about it. We had some words. So Karen talks about how Monique was upset with her because she had said that Monique had medical issues and that was why Monique assaulted Candiace. And Monique was like, yeah, I was like, what is that about? I don't have no medical issues. I'm perfectly fine. I said, you're fine in your own pea brain, you are. So Karen says that, her and Monique had words. Monique was angry at her for saying that, but she apologized and she makes a joke about how she's not a doctor. So Wendy makes a joke about how she knows somebody who's a doctor, and we all know that Wendy is actually a doctor. Well, not a medical doctor, but she is a doctor because she has her PhD and she has 4 degrees. I said, Wendy, you better get that in there. I said, Wendy does not miss, honey, to plug in her accomplishments, and I ain't mad at it, okay? So Karen goes on to say how her heart was just broken between Monique and Candiace. Karen says that she had a talk with Monique and let Monique know that she was wrong for putting her hands on her. And Monique's like, yeah, it wasn't a walk in the park. Karen sent me straight and let me know that what I did was wrong. I said, okay, girl, whatever. Y'all are just saying that now because there was backlash about how you guys are in cahoots and how Karen refuses to hold you accountable. But so whatever. Whatever sounds good. Karen and Monique are 2 peas in a lying pod. Those two say whatever they need to say to get through the moment. But again, I digress. Candiace then brings up the conversation that was had at Wendy's Sip and See for her daughter, Cameron. And Candiace says, I was really pissed off when I found out that Karen was actually talking about me, about her opinion has changed about me. And she was just like, are you effing kidding me? Like, I'm the one who is the victim. I'm the one who's been assaulted, and your opinion has changed about me. Like, are you nuts? Karen was just sitting there looking so stupid. Andy brings up the wig shift event, and he brings up how Karen said verbatim in Portugal about how she was not inviting Monique, and then did invite Monique. And so Karen is like, oh, Andy, you're trying to get me. You're about to bust me. Well, I didn't say that verbatim. What I said was that she wasn't coming to the event, but I had just never said that she wasn't coming to like the pre-event. And it was like, Karen loves to do that play on words. It really drives me nuts. Karen loves to play dumb. She just cannot help herself. I want to know what gets into people who are just pathological liars. Like, I really want to know what goes through their heads. Like, how do you feel just going through life lying about every single thing? Karen cannot own up to anything. So Andy again is calling her out on her BS, and so he also brings up how she ran out of her own party. So then Karen says, I don't like that word ran. I didn't run out of my own party. Yes, you did, and we have it all on camera. Karen will sit up there and tell you that the sky is green, and you say, Karen, this sky is as blue as anything, and she'll sit up there and tell you that it is green. That woman cannot help herself. So then Andy sees that he's getting nowhere with Karen and her lies about the whole wig shift party. And he asks Candiace if she is still taking medication. Candiace starts crying and says that yes, she is still taking medication. So while she's answering Andy, she then turns her attention to Karen. And she is pissed. She is letting Karen have it. And I was here for every single second of it. Candiace revealed how she had a private conversation with Karen through text, and Karen ran and told Bravo production that she was afraid. Candiace also says that Karen was trying to get her fired off of the show. So of course Karen is getting upset, her voice is raised, saying, no, that's not what happened, that's not what happened, you threatened me and I was scared. Candiace says, are you out of your mind? You were scared, Karen? Nobody threatened you. All I said was, you can burn in the hottest part of hell. And Karen was like, when you said that to me, though, I just felt threatened. You know what? I'm not even about to sit here. I'm this close to just ending this review. I really am. I could have hit the floor when Karen said that she felt threatened because Candiace told her to go to hell. I said, Karen, you will not sit up here and play in our faces like this. I said, I won't allow it. I said, I will not allow this whatsoever. Karen is certifiable. Like, Karen is crazy. She really believes the things that come out of her mouth. That's why her and Monique are just so good together, because they're both crazy women who believe the lies that flow out of their mouths. You are not threatened if somebody tells you to burn in hell. You might be a little insulted, you might be upset, but you're not threatened. What Karen did was just absolutely wrong. I was happy that Candiace exposed her for that whole incident. Karen is just trying to backpedal and talk about how hurt she is and how much she just loves Candiace and how it's been a terrible predicament being in the middle. Candiace is not trying to hear it. Candiace is like, this woman is a liar. I don't want no parts. Andy ends it and says, he hopes that they can find each other again because there does seem to be genuine love and concern for each other. And that's the reason why they're going back at it, so hard, because there is love there. Candiace, if you hear my voice, do not enter back into a friendship with Karen Huger. That woman is a stone cold liar, and she is not a friend, much less a good friend, to anybody. Do not. She used you, threw you in the trash, and stayed loyal and a friend to a woman who assaulted you on national TV? I don't think so. I would have absolutely nothing to say to Karen. Karen would be dead to me. And if Candiace does choose to come back for season 6, I would not film, nor would I speak to Karen. I wouldn't have anything to say to Karen except hello and goodbye. And that's if I'm feeling Christian-like. So now there's a break and the husbands are coming out. So Chris Samuels, Eddie, Chris Bassett are coming out. They're all, making small talk with each other. We hear Robyn and Ashley talking, and somehow they bring up Michael Jordan. And Robyn is talking about how Juan actually played with Michael Jordan. They were on the same team for a season. And Andy overhears and is like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Did any of you guys watch the documentary that premiered over the summer, The Last Dance? Like, yeah, we watched it. And Andy's like, oh my God, that documentary was fantastic. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And I said, I am in full agreement with Andy on that. That is one of the best pieces of television I have ever watched. And I actually plan on watching the whole documentary again. That was phenomenal. It really should have been 20 episodes, because when it was on the 10th episode, I was like in tears because it was so freaking good, okay? ESPN, y'all did that. But let's just get on back to the reunion. So Andy goes on to ask Chris Samuels, because you remember they're getting the men all mic'd up and now everybody's ready and they're in their chairs behind their wives. And Andy says, hey, Chris Samuels. And Chris Samuels, his funky behind, just as dry as could be. I said, a true fool. Andy goes on to say, Chris, did you watch The Last Dance with Michael Jordan? And Chris says, no, I didn't, Andy, because I was sitting up here watching filthy lies being spread about my kid. I said, boy, if you don't sit your funky, overgrown behind down, then I know something. Let me just rein it on in, because my blood is really about to boil when we get into this Monique and Chris Samuels portion. Before we get into this part, we find out that Chris Bassett sold his barbecue restaurant. Ray's doing well. Jamal couldn't make the reunion because he had a lecture going on. Juan couldn't make the reunion because he had a basketball practice. And we all know that Michael is at an imaginary wedding in South Carolina for an imaginary relative, and that's why he couldn't be at the reunion. Andy goes on to ask Eddie what he thought about, him and his wife's first season on this show. And can I tell you, Eddie is so cute and he's so nice. Like, I really just like him a lot. He is a great husband. I said, Wendy, you got a good one. I said, does he have a brother? But then I forgot that him and his family don't speak, so I guess she couldn't hook me up with one of his brothers if he does have one. But again, I digress. So Andy goes on to ask Eddie about how his experience was. Was he a little bit nervous when Wendy came to him about being on the show? And he's like, yeah, at first I was kind of like, are you sure you want to do this? And then he said, he eased on into it and, Wendy liked it. Then Andy goes on to ask about, has his family, reached out to him since being on the show? Are they close now? Do they even talk? And he's like, nope, still the same old nonsense. My family doesn't speak to me. I don't speak to them. It's been 10 years. It's just a mess. It's just a shame. So Andy is like really upset to hear that. He's like, wow, that's just so sad to hear. And then we get on to the nonsense. So Andy starts it off light and he talks to Ray and he's like, Ray, how is your marriage going with Karen, and are you in love with Karen now? Because we saw you guys dealing with some heavy stuff at the fact that you said that you weren't in love with her. And Ray kind of gave me a little bit of Karen with his long answer, because he didn't really answer the question. He was like, after 25 years, I was like, I love Karen, but I wasn't still in love with her. Like, I wasn't sure if I was still in love with her because, it's been 25 years. Like, he wasn't making sense. And so he just assures Andy that they're good now. And then he says that he laughed when he heard that Karen said that she wanted her money back after she loaned him hundreds of thousands of dollars for the tax issues. And he says, you know, I had a hearty laugh about that. And went majority of her marriage, never paying a bill. She had a whole bunch of credit cards that she would use and use and use, never paid a bill. Like, I took complete care of her. She never even touched a bill. So when she said that, I was just laughing like, yeah, right, and good luck, because you ain't getting this money back. At the end of the day, we know Karen. Karen wanted that money back. She was not joking. She wanted every penny of that $500,000 that she gave Ray back in her pocket. But guess what? The people in hell want ice water, sis, and they're never going to get it. So you're not going to get your money back either. So keep hoping, keep wishing, keep dreaming, because it's not going to happen. Then Andy goes on to ask Chris Samuels about that joke that he made about Monique's best side of her is when she's giving him head. And he's like, you know, it was just a joke. We like to have fun. I didn't mean anything by it, but I apologize to anybody who was offended. And Wendy is like, yeah, like Eddie would never say anything crazy to me like that. And then Eddie is like, no, I sure wouldn't. Now we are inching into the mess. And Andy goes on to bring up how Gizelle has hired herself a bodyguard because Chris Samuels is here at the reunion. And we see this big, you know, masked figure in the back, and he looked like he was ready to tear Chris Samuels up if Chris even tried it. You know it's crazy? The fact that Gizelle had me rooting for her in this reunion. I said, Gizelle, hell must be freezing over, because if you would have ever told me that I would be on your side, I'm in shock. Girl, unblock me from Twitter if you ever watch this. I am just screaming though. So now we get into the why Gizelle brought this bodyguard, because why is she feeling so fearful of Chris Samuels? And Andy brings up Monique and Chris Samuels' infamous IG Live, where Chris Samuels said he wished he could turn into Bruce Jenner to stomp those tricks out. And those tricks he was referring to was Gizelle and Robyn. Gizelle is so disgusted by Chris Samuels. She did not want to look at him, didn't want to speak to him. She kept referring to him as a big MF. And I said, I know that's right. I said, I'm sure you wish she was calling you big boy now, huh? I said, big boy is better than big MF, ain't it? I said, it's a sad day when I said, Gizelle, you better say that. So, of course, Chris gives a fake apology and says he is sorry for those, words. He did not mean to say that, but he was just hurt. He was just hurt because these women were plotting on his child on national TV. I said, now, Chris Samuels, I always thought that you had a lick of sense, but you proved to me tonight that not only are you just as stupid as the day is long, you're just as delusional and as much of a liar as your wife is. For the last freaking time, the plot about your son's paternity was never brought on air. Let me say it for the people in the back. The plot about Chase's paternity was never brought on air. Let me say it for the people in the cheap seats. The plot about Chase's paternity was never brought on air. Oh, Chris Samuels is getting upset and is just saying, I've been waiting for this moment. And they're all like, you need to calm the F down and sit the F down. I said, yeah, he better calm it down. He better keep it real cute. So now Chris Samuels tries to get on Candiace, and Chris Bassett is like, hold up. You're not about to talk to my wife about nothing because your crazy wife already assaulted my wife. And he's like, Chris, and if I recall, you guys are in support of a blogger who went after my kids' a few years back. And so Monique is like, what? We never did that. We never did. So Chris Bassett is getting annoyed with Monique. And so I guess he raised his voice to Monique. And so Chris Samuel's like, don't talk to my wife like that. Don't yell at my wife. I said, okay, but it's okay for you to say that you want to stomp some women out and call them tricks. But it's not okay for Chris Bassett to raise his voice at your awful wife. I said the double standards and the hypocrisy on the Samuel side is just so crazy and it runs so deep. I really don't have any words for it. It's just absolute, like, maddening. It's crazy. Candiace says, Chris Samuels, I want to talk to you directly. Not your wife, not anybody else. I want to talk to you directly. I never spread this rumor. She explains that there was a conversation being had about the nonsense and she immediately shut it down. She said that when it was brought up at the dinner table, she said that doesn't even make any sense because the kid looks just like Chris. All of their kids look just like Chris. Chris and Monique have nothing to say. So then Monique says, well, why didn't you call me and tell me what was said? Candiace said it perfectly. She said, because this was another rumor. She said, I hear rumors about every single one of these ladies. I would be on the phone with these people for 3 days straight if I called them up about every single rumor that I heard. Monique has nothing to say because she knows that Candiace is absolutely correct. Candiace admits that Gizelle is gossipy and she is messy. Gizelle gets upset, but sis, it is the truth. You are a shit starter and you can't help yourself because you will twist some things around. So let's not. But Candiace defends her and says, Gizelle was not spreading anything around. She was only gossiping with us in that moment about the rumors that had been floating around by Gigi. That's it. So Chris Samuels then thinks that he's Andy Cohen and goes around saying, well, who spread it on the air? Robyn says, not me. Candiace says, not me. Gizelle says, don't effing talk to me. I said, girl, I know that's right. I would have given him my behind to kiss. I would have given Chris Samuels the middle finger, to be very honest with you, but I digress. So Gizelle says, don't effing talk to me. And she tells Andy, I did not spread anything. I didn't bring anything on air. She says that she did say that one thing because the producer asked her in like episode 2 of this season. Gizelle also talks about how Monique and Chris invited her to their house. Remember that episode? I think it was episode 5 of this season. She said when she walked into the house, we see the unseen footage that they did not show. Chris Samuel said, hey, Gizelle, you see the baby? You see the baby? The baby looks just like me, right? And so Gizelle is looking like, well, of course the baby looks just like you. Who would it look like? And so Chris is laughing. Gizelle says that because Chris and Monique brought it up, she thought that it was a joke. That she thought that they were having fun with the rumor and just making fun of themselves. Gizelle also points out the inconsistencies in their story. She says this has been a rumor that has been floating around for 2 years. Why are they mad about it now? She says verbatim, why didn't you bring this up season 3 when the rumor just came out? Chris and Monique have nothing to say. If Monique and Chris were that mad at Gizelle, why wasn't this addressed season 3? Why wasn't this addressed season 4? Why did you welcome Gizelle into your home this season? Why did you invite her to your lake house? Why did you have dinner and lunch with Gizelle, Monique? So again, your story doesn't make sense. This would not have been a thing had they not brought it up. They have nothing to say when that fact is being said. Now, when Gizelle lays out all the facts, Chris Samuels gives another weak apology about his actions in that IG Live, and Gizelle does not want to hear it. She's like, what is this big MF saying? I don't even want to hear it. So now, after that whole mess, Andy directs his line of questioning to Robyn. We find out that Robyn and Juan are building a house from the ground up, and they're excited for it. Robyn's hat line is doing really, really well. we see the little back and forth between her and Karen. Karen is still salty that she was left out of the website. And then she says, well, no, I checked the website and you guys are all off of it. And so Robyn's like, no, they're not. They're actually on the product display portion of the website. So then Robyn talks about how Karen's hat was actually the lowest selling hat anyway, so she just discontinued it. I said, I know that's right. But we find out that the reason why the ladies love Robyn's hat is because it is perfect for us Black girls and our edges. She has them all lined with satin, and you know that we should only be sleeping on satin pillowcases and satin bonnets because they protect our hair and our edges. And I said, I know that's right. So she said, yeah, her embellished hat sales are doing really well, honey. Those hats are flying off of the shelves. She remarks how her tax issues are finally taken care of, paid off, she's good. And then Andy goes on to read a question from a viewer about how she was critical of Karen and Ray's tax issues. And Robyn is like, actually, I wasn't critical. I just thought that Karen was lying when she said she had no idea that Ray was having tax issues. That's all I said. But no, I was not criticizing them. I just didn't believe Karen and what she was saying. Karen, of course, is getting testy, and she's like, you know, you were being critical, and look at you, you know, you forgot to call up your lawyer for your tax issues. And Robyn's like, yep, I sure did forget to make that call, but they're all taken care of now. And like I said before, I was not critical of you and Ray. I just did not believe the BS that you were spouting about how you had no idea that you guys were in financial ruin. So then the questions turn on over to Ashley, and Ashley is squirming in her seat because she already knows what's coming. She sees the clips of her husband acting a true fool over Juan proposing to Robyn. Andy asks her verbatim, what did you think of Michael when he was saying that Juan would not propose to Robyn? Like, did you know anything? Did he know anything? And she's hemming and hawing and like, no, Michael didn't know anything. He just thought, but no, I didn't know anything. He didn't tell me anything. You know, but he said it because maybe he had a feeling because Michael and Juan are close. So he just was saying it because he had a feeling. And then Robyn was getting annoyed because Robyn was like, you know, I called Juan and I was like, did you tell Michael anything? And she was like, Juan was like, no, I did not say anything. I don't know why Michael was doing all that. I said, we all know why Michael was acting like that. He was acting like a jilted lover and looked like a red-faced weasel. So then at this point, it was so weird because Andy then asked Chris Samuels what he thinks about Robyn and Juan's engagement. And Chris is like, you know, I'm happy for them. You know, that's nice for them. But I really just want to know why a group of women were talking about the paternity of my kid. And I'm like, you are still going on about this. Like, Chris and Monique Samuels just going to keep repeating a lie so that everybody will be on their side. It's so pathetic. So Chris gets nasty with Robyn and Gizelle. And so Robyn is like, I am so glad Juan is not here. I am so glad that Juan is not here. And I said, I know that's right, because I know that Juan would have lit all the way into Chris. Chris, with his slow moving slew foot behind, he walks out. He's like, you know, I'm going to get up. I'm going to take a break. And he, you know, gets up laughing. I said, this man is just as delusional as his crazy wife. Just sad. And Andy goes on to ask Ashley what Michael meant about Juan and Michael going on a bachelor party to Vegas, just the two of them. And she's like, oh, you know, they just say that because at the last reunion, Juan had went up to Michael and was like, yeah, we should go to Vegas together. I said, I just doubt that. I really highly doubt that Juan said that, but I said, okay, girl. Then we finally move on to the argument between Chris Bassett and Michael Darby. And Chris Bassett, I loved it. He was like, I don't tolerate any disrespect of women. He lets it be known that Michael Darby has disrespected every single woman on that stage, except for Wendy, because Wendy's new. But he's like, I will not allow it at all. And he lets Ashley know that Ashley, I have never disrespected you, despite the fact that you and my wife have gone at it for several years. Never come at you crazy whatsoever. I let you two argue, but I have never come at you, but your husband thinks it's okay to, come after my wife and whatever. And so Ashley's looking stupid. She's like, all the ladies have come after my husband, and it's just really hard to watch. And then Candiace is like, your husband is a creep. So Chris Bassett really brings it on home, and he's like, Chris Samuels a few reunions ago, I think season 3 reunion, almost beat the ish out of Michael because of what you were saying about Monique being an alcoholic and, having a miscarriage. And, Monique and Ashley just looking stupid. And even Chris Samuels couldn't deny it. He was like, yeah, I did do that. I said it's so funny to me how Chris Samuels and Michael Darby can say really nasty things to the other women and they can defend their wives. But Chris Bassett, when he defends his wife, Candiace, it's a problem. Just very interesting to me. It's not lost on me that, nobody talked about how Chris Samuels wanted to beat Michael up and told Michael that he was going to beat him up. But Chris Samuels sticks up for his wife and it's an issue. I said, okay, cool. Robyn lets it be known that she really appreciated the fact that Chris Bassett had the decency and the class to call her up after the engagement party and apologize for ruining it or for causing a ruckus, and says that Michael Darby, of course, being the low-class man that he is, he didn't do that. And Ashley's just sitting there looking like the true fool that she is. We are at the last few minutes of this reunion, and Chris Bassett says that he wants his wife back. He just wants her to feel like herself again. He wants her to smile again. He wants her to be happy again. He talks about how the assault has just taken a toll on her and he just wants his girl back. And, she's crying because that is sad to be humiliated and assaulted on national TV. I don't think I would get over that anytime soon. Terrible thing. And then for that to happen from somebody that you consider to be a best friend, I would be devastated too. Andy then goes on to ask Chris, well, both of the Chris's, how their friendship has been affected because their wives are on the outs. And Chris Bassett is like, it's what you would expect it to be. It's kind of strained because, that's my wife. This is sad. And he lets it be known that he is okay if they are never friends again due to, his wife not wanting to be friends with them again. He's like, I'm going to follow my wife. Chris Samuels said that, it sucks. He just hopes that maybe one day they can get back on track or whatever. Monique is just looking stupid. Candiace is upset. She's just, dabbing her eyes. In all seriousness, I would never speak to the Samuels again. What she's done to Candiace and putting Candiace through emotional hell for a whole year, spewing lies, that's unforgivable to me. So, no, I don't see them ever being friends again. No, I don't see Candiace ever forgiving that or ever wanting to move forward with Monique. Candiace, if you are watching this, please don't give that girl a second chance. What she has done, she has shown her true character. She has shown her true person. That woman is diabolical and she is a maniac. I have no good words to say about her. Her and Chris made a complete spectacle of themselves on this reunion. Chris Bassett, I wouldn't even want to ever speak to Chris Samuels ever again. I was actually really upset when I saw Chris Bassett and Chris Samuels dap it up after they left the stage. I was kind of like, if I were Chris Bassett, I would have absolutely nothing to say to Chris Samuels ever again in life. There is no way in hell I am still talking or still being cordial to somebody whose wife assaulted my wife. Absolutely not. We see Robyn talk about her wedding, how she wants to have a destination wedding. Then all of a sudden, Ray jumps in and talks about how he is planning a vow renewal ceremony for him and Karen and their 25th anniversary. That whole display to me was really fake and phony. I think that they're only doing that for a storyline because Karen has nothing to offer this show. So I really saw a storyline for season 6. It's really pathetic to me. I don't care about Karen or Ray, so I was not touched, or I was very unmoved when I saw Karen with that fake cry and she's jumping up to hug Ray. That was just so pathetic to me. Then we ended with Chris Samuels making a grandstand for his wife, talking about how strong Monique is and how he just loves his wife to pieces, how they're stronger than ever. And he gives her a big hug and he says, I just really want to cry, man. I just really want to cry, man. I said, two idiots. I almost threw up a little bit when I saw that whole stupid display. I said, just as phony as a $3 bill, they both look like two fools with that spectacle. So now we end it and everybody is going around sharing what they've learned, and that was it. They ended by slithering out, and that was a play on when Karen said that Wendy was slithering out of her event or whatever, but that was the reunion. That was the season. The fact that we have sat through this craziness for 23 weeks, I don't ever want to talk about this show again. I don't want to talk about these women again. I don't want to talk about this franchise again. I'm sorry. I'm mentally spent. I can't do it anymore. Thank you guys for sitting through this review. I know it was a long one, but unfortunately it was a 90-minute reunion episode, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Drop it down in the comments what you guys all feel. Will you be watching season 6? I've been hearing a lot of rumors about Monique is coming back. Then I've been hearing that she's not coming back. I don't know anymore. It's really sad, the fact that this show has taken such a turn for the worse. I've just never seen a franchise go to hell like this. Monique Samuels has single-handedly destroyed Potomac for me and for a lot of other people. This has been the saddest, sorriest, most chaotic season that I have ever seen. Bravo. I don't want to see Potomac on my screen until 2022. Again, make sure that you guys like, comment, subscribe. If you're a Monique fan, you can go ahead and dislike. It's okay, because it's going to show up in the algorithm anyway. But make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later for Salt Lake City, because I know I'm behind on a review. I owe you guys episode 7. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.